As we all know by now, when someone is famous online, they rarely show us the full reality of their lives. We see the parts they think are best, that will get them the most clicks and views. We only see the fanciest meals, the most expensive outfits, and the happiest memories. When Alexis Sharkey was found dead a few miles from her home, the shock and horror of her passing hit the internet hard. Influencers and content creators have passed away before, but rarely do we expect someone like Alexis to die so unexpectedly. She had a perfect life, the perfect friends, the perfect husband. So who could have wanted her dead? Let's dive in. Alexis Lee Robinall was born in January 1994 to her parents Michael and Stacy. She had two sisters named Toby and Riley, and they were raised in Youngsville, Pennsylvania. Growing up, Alexis was a really well-rounded person and an excellent student. She always got high grades and went on to study at the University of Pittsburgh at Bradford. She graduated in the top 2% of her class, majoring in biology with minors in nutrition and psychology. According to her family, Alexis loved learning and would always spend her free time researching different topics and taking in as much knowledge as she could. This got her interested in other countries and cultures, and Alexis aspired to travel the world. She started by moving to Odessa, Texas, over 1,500 miles away from her family and friends. She planned to work a casual job and relax after working so hard in school. She was considering continuing her education at medical school, but she really needed a break. She got a job at a chain sports bar called Twin Peaks, which is kind of like Hooters in the sense that the waitresses' uniforms are pretty revealing. Reportedly, Alexis loved working there because she was a super social person and thrived in an environment where something was always going on, and there was always someone to speak to. It was because of her job that she met her future husband, Tom Sharkey. There is a considerable age gap between Alexis and Tom, who was in his mid-40s when Alexis was in her early 20s. Tom had been married and divorced at least once before he met Alexis and had children close to her age. This didn't seem to bother either of them. Alexis posted tons of photos of her and Tom together going on trips or just enjoying each other's company. Tom had a job working with an oil company, which allowed him to travel a few times a year, something that really interested Alexis. They started officially dating in 2018, and around the same time, Alexis was starting to feel the effects of working all the time. Even though she loved her job at Twin Peaks, she felt like she was working constantly to make ends meet, and she was ready to slow down a little, take more time for herself. That was when she got invested in Monat. Monat is a multi-level marketing company. It specializes in hair care, skin care, and hygiene products for pets. Although it's advertised as cruelty-free and natural, Monat has been the subject of dozens of lawsuits from customers who suffered reactions or hair loss from their products. Even though Monat was going through legal issues at the time she joined up as a seller, Alexis was able to make it as a distributor and a recruiter for the company. This is pretty amazing in itself, considering the majority of people who join an MLM schemes end up losing money. In just a short time, she climbed high enough in the company that she earned a free car and a vacation to the Bahamas. She was promoted to a directorial position and was making around $30,000 a month. So Alexis was really living the good life, and her social media reflected that. She was always at amazing, beautiful events and traveling all over the world. She and Tom decided to make the move to Colorado so they could enjoy the natural, wonderful beauty in the state and indulge in their love of hiking. Then, in June 2019, while on a trip to Tohonock Falls, Tom popped the big question. Later that year, they decided to move to Houston, Texas, and got married in a small, private ceremony. Life seemed great. Alexis even managed to make a bunch of new friends in their new hometown by using Bumble BFF, a version of Bumble dating app that's just for finding friendships. She and her new girlfriends had a group chat where they would make plans to hang out or just talk about random stuff. Since Alexis was always attached to her phone because of work, she was usually the most active in the group and the first to reply to any messages. That detail will become important later. As we entered 2020, things obviously changed for everybody worldwide. Alexis continued to work from home and stay in contact with her friends and family, but things didn't seem to be as perfect as they had been over the last couple of years. According to Tom, she wasn't nearly as happy as she appeared in her Instagram feed. She wasn't happy. She was stressed. There's always other sides to everything. But that wasn't all. According to Alexis's close group group of friends, she barely ever mentioned Tom and hardly brought him on trips or outings anymore. This was weird since they used to do everything together, even hanging out with friends. The last photo she posted of them together was on Halloween 2020, when they got dressed up as Vikings. Looking at those pictures, you'd never know anything was going on. According to reports, even around this time, Alexis was considering divorce. This case is obviously still pretty new, so not all the details of this information are available yet. However, in an interview, one of Alexis's friends alleges that Alexis had divorce papers and she was scared for her life. As well as that, there are rumors that Alexis had another man in her life. In November, Alexis took a trip to Tulum, a popular tourist destination in Mexico. There, she met Sebastian Marmolejo, a Houston-based DJ, and allegedly, the two hit it off. There are conflicting reports as to whether the two hooked up, but what's pretty much certain is that there was something going on between them. Alexis returned to Houston just in time for Thanksgiving, but she wasn't even planning on spending the day with Tom. Instead, she was going to be celebrating the holiday at a friend's house. On Thanksgiving morning, she and Tom shared a meal before she headed out to spend the rest of the day with friends. It's unclear what Tom did during the day, if he wasn't with Alexis. She stayed at her friend's house until around midnight. At that point, they decided to head to a bar and keep the party going. Reportedly, Sebastian is the one who drove her and her friends out to the bar. She didn't get home until after 3 a.m., and the next few hours on from that are still kind of a mystery. Of course, after Thanksgiving comes Black Friday, which was a big deal for Alexis as this was a great opportunity to make some extra sales. As soon as she was awake, she'd no doubt be all over her social media accounts with deals on the products she sold. Except she wasn't. Alexis didn't make a single post on social media all day, which was pretty weird anyway, since she was always messaging her friends or posting to her Instagram story. At 5:30 p.m., a message was sent from her phone to her group chat, asking if anybody had plans that evening and wanted to hang out. Because it was Thanksgiving weekend, everybody already had plans. The reason I say a message was sent from her phone is that we don't know if it was Alexis who sent the message. At 11 p.m., Tom texted the boyfriend of Alexis's friend Chelsea and asked him if he'd seen Alexis around anywhere. In a 45-minute phone call, Tom explained that he and Alexis got into an argument and she stormed out of the house. He said she climbed over a fence, then got into a black car he didn't recognize, and he hadn't seen her since. After notifying Stacy that her daughter was missing, they decided to wait and see if Alexis would come home on her own. She didn't. The next day, her friends grew suspicious when Alexis didn't respond to plans to a movie night. At this point, they didn't know she was missing, so assumed her phone was broken or something. They decided to go ahead with the movie night and hoped she'd just turn up, but she never arrived. Since Alexis isn't the kind of person to skip out on plans, this really concerned her friends, who started trying to contact Tom and Stacy. When Stacy heard that Alexis still hadn't appeared, she called the police and filed a missing persons report. Alexis's family and friends took to social media to appeal for any information on Alexis's whereabouts, hoping their efforts would bring her home safely. Sadly, this wasn't to be. The next morning, on November 28th, a garbage truck was heading down a rural road when the driver spotted feet sticking out of the shrubs on the side of the road. It was Alexis.
We just stunned and I'm looking, but there wasn't no visible wounds. She just got out the tub, her body was clean.
Alexis's death was ruled a homicide after her autopsy confirmed she died due to strangulation. Naturally, the most obvious suspect is Tom, the last person to see Alexis alive and the person most likely to hurt her. According to a study by The Who, 35% of all female homicides are carried out by their partner. In a 2018 study, it was found that most of these homicides in the US occur in Texas. Tom has strongly denied any involvement in his wife's death, but he hasn't made the best case for himself. He's changed his story of what happened that night she vanished multiple times. He said she left both in a car and on foot. He said that she was wearing sneakers when she left, then changed his story and said she wasn't wearing any shoes. He even tried to prevent Stacy from having Alexis transported back to her hometown for her funeral, simply by ghosting Stacy and refusing to release Alexis's body to her family. Thankfully, this has been rectified, and Alexis's family was able to say goodbye to her in the right way. As you can imagine, Stacy is heartbroken that her daughter was taken from her so horribly.
It's so painful for someone so bright and having so much to offer just to be gone.
Since this case is so new, a lot of information is still being kept private by the investigators, so it doesn't damage the integrity of the case. However, it has been speculated that Tom's previous divorce and the past of one of Alexis's friends are being investigated. So far, there have been no arrests, and Tom is fully cooperating with the police. However, he has had to private all of his social media accounts as he's been receiving death threats from people who believe he is guilty. I truly look forward to the day the truth about this this case comes out, not just to bring closure to Alexis's family and friends, but so that Alexis can rest in peace. That brings us to the end of today's video. What do you think of this case? Do you think Alexis's family will ever have answers to who did this? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below.